Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for not inviting our stepbrother on a brother's trip? I, 28 male, my brother, 26, and our half brother, 20, used to go on an annual trip with our dad. Since my dad had a serious health complication 3 years ago, it turned into a brother's trip. We used to invite SB years ago, but he never wanted to go. Stepbrother, 28, is our youngest brother's half brother. We do not get along at all. Our dad married his mom when I was 8. My mother had been dead for 6 years by then, but his parents had been divorced for 4 years. His dad was very wealthy and determined to drive a wedge between us. There was also a good dose of parental alienation, but since mom, stepmom, and dad couldn't afford to fight him in court, they did their best to keep the peace. He refused to be respectful towards my dad, rubbed his expensive toys in our faces, which now seems not a big deal, but then was very hurtful, etc. I guess the point where we completely wrote him off was when we were 16. He had a car and never allowed us in it. It was raining heavily and he refused to drive us to school. Then he drove by us while we were walking and kept insulting dad. For our youngest brother, SB hated him the moment he was born. Used to bully him if we didn't keep an eye on him. There was an incident that ended with the youngest needing medical help, and he hated his older brother since then. A couple of years ago SB came out as gay. His father disowned him. Mom and dad did the decent thing and supported him. We also said that we accepted him, but that was that. Last week we went on our trip as usual. Then last Sunday we were having a family dinner and SB was there. We showed our parents the photos we took and shared some stories. SB excused himself halfway through, but we thought nothing of it. Later mom told us that he broke down in the kitchen, saying that he felt excluded and wished we had invited him. I just hummed, but the youngest told mom point blank that it was a trip for us brothers. He didn't qualify. She didn't insist or anything, but she seemed down. Now I'm feeling a bit guilty. Am I the antagonist? This is your baby brother's blood brother. Thus whether SB travels or not, he should receive the day off. You are shielded from bullies by brothers. They are not the cause of how miserable your life has become. This bed was created by NTA, who is now able to sleep in it. Comment by team member Taylor. Now for the top comments. NTA, SB has not been a good brother to you, and was actively harmful to your youngest bro. You can't just erase the past by not acknowledging it. If he wants a relationship with any of you, he's going to have to make amends for the way he's treated you. Maybe he's finally wised up and realized what an ass he was all those years and wishes things were different. But he doesn't get to magically make it all disappear by pretending it never happened. He gets to acknowledge what he did, ask if there's some way to make amends, and then actually do the work. And if he can earn back some respect, then maybe he might get invited on trips eventually, but he isn't owed such a relationship regardless. NTA, why would you bring your youngest brother's abuser on a trip with you guys? Exactly. Being gay and disowned by his father does not excuse the fact he was an ass to the op and his brothers all these years. It's sad for their stepmother that she's hurt, but I imagine she's hurt because she knows her son is an ass and deserves to be ostracized for that. NTA, people are totally capable of change, but part of real and true change is admitting your wrongs, apologizing for them, and showing that you really are doing better. If he is unwilling to do those things, he does not deserve forgiveness, much less consideration. I agree. I feel they could give him the opportunity to redeem himself and show he has changed, but he has to be the one to do that. Op does not need to be the one extending the olive branch and invite him on the brother's trip. That is something that is earned after he shows how he has changed and wants to be a good brother. Maybe this is a start of that maybe. NTA, he can't expect to be forgiven and included without having to do the work of proving that he's changed, and even then it's not really up to him. That being said, it doesn't sound like he put any of that on you. It was somebody's mom. Not sure whose, since I had some trouble keeping the family relationships straight. Am I the antagonist for telling my son that he needs to stop acting weird to not get bullied in school? My son is 14 and is a textbook example of edgelord. He's into wolves. He talks about wolves and werewolves non-stop at the dinner table and most of us are sick of it. I lost count of the weird stuff he says and does in public, like jump up and down and clap at Walmart, which freaked my wife, his mom, and his 2 sisters because there were people recording us and recording his sudden mental breakdown at a game that we paid for and had to leave because he made a scene. He is extremely loud in conversations and I have to tell him to tone it down. He gets bullied at school a lot. We can only fight with the school to stay on top of this for so long. They are not doing anything about it and wife gave up. We get calls from his teachers very frequently about other odd behaviors, including whispering to himself, which he does a lot at home, howling and using his mom's fur scarf and wrapped it around his waist so it looks like a tail. We are in the process of trying to get him evaluated at the advice of his teachers. I don't know of any mental health conditions that make him act like this. He's about to enter high school and for the past couple of years, he has switched schools at least twice. We had to break lease a couple of times and move somewhere else when the bullying got really bad. He is going to start school in an expensive private school. We are paying out of pocket upwards $40,000 a year for him so he gets into a safe environment in hopes he won't get bullied. My wife thinks that children in private schools are better behaved, but I'm not convinced. My son throws a fit every time we have to switch schools. I told him that we have to change schools so many times due to his bullying. And if he gets bullied in every school he goes to, then he needs to look at himself and stop doing whatever it is that's making him a target. I told him no more of that clapping and jumping up and down at Walmart. No more of that talking about wolves or muttering to himself or dressing up like a furry. And no more of that nonsense of him not showering and smelling like a landfill in public. Watch what the other kids are doing at school and learn how they act, and maybe he will get friends in school. I told him all of that and everything he did wrong, and he shut down. We've been trying to help him and protect him and get him away from all the bullying, but it has happened so much, and at some point we have to hold him accountable. And I told him that I will hold him accountable because we are paying for his school and we are not going to have these issues again. My son shut down and locked himself in his room and never spoke to us since the conversation, and the wife thinks I was being a dick to him when I told him it's past time we tell him to get his act together so he doesn't become a target for bullying, especially when he is entering high school next year and we are paying a lot of money for that school. Am I the antagonist? Though I'm not a parent, I find it difficult to understand parents who can criticize their kids in such a public way. There is no way to label him odd or hold him responsible for how others regard him. It definitely says a lot about you and your wife as humans that you're just writing this, since it will cost money to transfer schools. Comment by team member Taylor. Now for the top comments. Autism is my guess. Wolves are his special interest. Whatever neurodivergence your son has, it's not going to go away through lectures. The bullies won't stop just because he stops talking about wolves. In fact, something like 70% of neurodivergent kids are completely socially isolated by the time they are in high school. If it is autism, connect with ASN and other organizations made by autistics. For autistics, they'll help your son reach functional, rather than a normal that he probably can't achieve. That was my first thought as well. I have ASD and ADHD and think he should probably be tested for both. I very much agree that you cannot lecture it away. Besides, with him being bullied at school, you are his only allies at this stage. I know what it's like growing up feeling you've got no one in your corner, and I hope you'll do what's necessary to spare him that. Get a diagnosis as swiftly as possible. Educate yourself. Then educate the school if need be. I know it's heartbreaking to have your kid bullied, but he sounds like a really cool kid. Could you possibly take him to see wolves sometime? At a zoo? Perhaps. Get over it. Go get professional help. Instead of spending money changing schools and expensive schools, why did you not get counseling from a psychologist? I'm praying this is rage bait, but regardless, you're the a-hole. I'm not an expert, but it sounds to me like your son is autistic. His special interest in wolves, his stimming at the store, His meltdowns when overstimulated or experiencing a change in routine. It sounds pretty normal to me, but you seem to care far more about him acting normal than helping him develop coping mechanisms and accommodating his needs. A diagnosis would help you figure out those accommodations. But even without one, your behavior is obviously cruel and wildly unproductive. Also, for the record, literally none of what you described is edgelord behavior. Am I the antagonist H for dropping out as a bridesmaid after the bride made me feel humiliated? I, 24F, have been friends with April, 27F, for close to 15 years now. We met at gymnastics as kids and formed a close bond. It seemed natural for us that I would be a bridesmaid, just as we had always planned. The wedding was delayed a lot due to COVID, and then I received big news. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I was lucky that we caught it early, so I had surgery followed by chemotherapy. April was supportive throughout all this. She made appointments for dress shopping to fit around my schedule. When we picked the bridesmaids' dresses, April said she would be paying for them and alterations. She said it was her way of thanking us for being there for her. We chose to buy minor size up from what I wore because chemo could cause weight gain. Unfortunately, I've had to go through more rounds than first predicted. 3 weeks ago we went to a fitting and my dress wasn't close. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to leave the changing room, but April talked me into coming out as the other girls hadn't seen me try it on, and they were excited. Second came out and explained the problem to April, apologized and offered to pay her back for the dress and to pay for the alterations to make it fit. All that needed doing was for it to be let out. It had been taken in at my previous fitting, before I had more chemo. The seamstress said that it was easy to do, and that it wouldn't damage the dress as we had bought a size bigger in the first place. I thought everything was fine, until we went out for dinner with a few of our friends, to celebrate it getting closer to the wedding. When I ordered a pasta, April gave me a strange look, then made a comment about how it was no wonder I didn't fit into the dress, and how I couldn't just say the weight gain was from the chemo. I was in shock about it and didn't know what to do. Then when someone told her it was a horrible thing to say, she started saying I would ruin her wedding pictures, and it was already bad enough that she had to buy a size 10 dress just so I would fit into it, and now her pictures would be ruined by a whale who can't stop stuffing their face. I didn't think it was fair, as I've been on a diet ever since my diagnosis to combat any weight gain from my treatment, and I lost it. I did raise my voice. I told her that I can't believe anyone could be as cold and heartless as to say that, and considering how she's been there throughout this whole thing, the only conclusion I could make was that she's a narcissist who should be given an Oscar for her acting talents. I said not to worry about the pictures because I won't be there at all, and that I'm glad she can't get a refund on the dress, then told her fiancé should just contact a divorce lawyer now to save time, because it would be sad to be stuck with her. Then I left. I've been told I was harsher than needed and shouldn't drop out this close to the wedding, but I don't see why I should have to be there after I was humiliated. Am I the antagonist H? Your pal, in my opinion, is a mega R. Don't feel bad for her. She dug her own grave with her remarks. NTA. So I hope you recover quickly. Please get rid of her from your life. She is dangerous. Do not attend that wedding. Please. Comment by team member Taylor. Now for the top comments. NTA. Fuck that. That's not something you say to someone regardless of cancer or chemo. That's fucked. Also, bad enough she ordered a size 10. A size 10 in wedding fashion is like a size 6 or 8 in average women's sizing. So up would still be considered smaller than average, and that would ruin her wedding photos. I can't say what I want to because it would get me banned, but holy fuck, do I want to say it. NTA, they are definitely not a true friend. Size shouldn't matter. I'm sorry you're being treated like that. Drop them immediately. Should have said to the fiancé good luck with the whole in sickness and in health thing. You see how she treats critically ill, lifelong friends. Hope she does better by you. I'm out. NTA. Am I the antagonist for not taking my brother's girlfriend's children out? Names changed for privacy. I'm a terrible storyteller. My 22F brother Ted, 32 male, has been dating this girl Opal, 30F, for about 6 months now. Ted has a daughter from a previous relationship named Jasmine, 12F. Opal has 3 children from a previous relationship, Frank, 1 male, Lee, 4F, and Stacy, 8F. Jasmine recently had a birthday and I made plans to take her out to the mall so she could choose what she wanted for a late birthday gift. When I arrived at my brother's house, Opal answered the door and seemed very happy. Opal, it'll be so nice to be kids free today. We really needed this. I figured her sister was taking the other kids, so I came inside and waited for Jasmine to get ready. A little backstory on Opal. Nobody in the family likes her. She is a drug addict and she is controlling. My niece Jasmine doesn't even like her, and I haven't spoken to Opal or her children since the day she called me the B word for calling her out over transphobic comments she had made, which was about 2 months into them dating. Well, Jasmine came down the stairs with Opal's children bounding behind her. Jasmine looked uncomfortable. Opal began to tell me about her children's allergies and what time she would be expecting them back. I was surprised by this as I made no mention of taking her children anywhere, and I told her as much. This led to an argument. I'll spare the bickering and get down to the main bits. Opal, my children are just as much your nieces and nephew as Jasmine is. Me, you aren't married to my brother. They are not related to me whatsoever. I don't even know your children. And even if I did, this is a special trip for Jasmine's birthday. Opal, why can't you make it a special day for all of them? Jasmine wants her siblings to come. Don't you, Jasmine? Jasmine shook her head and told me she would wait outside. Opal made a big scene about how she was going to call my brother and have him deal with me. All my brother did was ask me to give in to her as he knew she wouldn't stop. Well, I set my foot down and told him absolutely not. Now, I have all kinds of texts from Opal, Opal's family, and a few of my own family stating I'm an asshole and that her children have nothing to do with the beef I have with her. I'm starting to feel bad because they are just little kids and they don't have anything to do with what their mother does. But on the other hand, I feel like if Jasmine was uncomfortable and I was uncomfortable with it, then it was fine. He should not have gone on a second date with Opal's since she is a shit. You were voluntarily informed that you were taking the other children rather than being asked if you could. Jasmine can come in if you can afford it. In a few years, she'll be a teen and starting high school. Comment by team member Jordan. Now for the top comments. NTA. She or her children aren't entitled to what you do for your niece. I'm afraid the kids might feel like I'm a bad person or they might be upset and feel left out. But at the same time I feel exactly like that they aren't entitled to it. NTA. Even if those kids had been in your life their entire lives, taking kids those ages out vs a 12-year-old is night and day. Expecting anyone to take that many kids, even if it wasn't for a belated birthday celebration, is too much. I don't need the backstory to know you aren't Tahir. Even if the other children were related to Op and they were older, there would still be no obligation to take all of them out at the same time. NTA. Those kids are strangers to you. I hate people who pawn off their young children for birthdays uninvited. F Opal. For real. Am I the antagonist for telling my retired military father that I don't want to miss my children's childhood like he did mine? My 32 male family is what I would consider generational military. We have ancestors that fought in WWI and beyond. I grew up being moved from place to place, going long stretches without seeing my father, and I hated it. Anytime I'd say I missed my dad or I wished I could see him more, I was quickly told to be quiet and be proud of my dad for being a hero. I once was upset we had to move because I was finally making friends and was told to not be selfish. I'm one of 4 kids. My brother and sisters all enlisted at 18. I chose not to, and while I'm not the only person in my extended family to do so, I knew it was disappointing. Originally, I chose not to enlist just because I didn't want to be in the military. However, in time, after learning more about it, I find the concept predatory and wrong. I've never told my family this. I went to college, got my dream job, and eventually married my wife. We have 2 beautiful daughters, 4 and 8. Because of my own upbringing, I do my best to be at every recital, school concert, soccer game, etc. I help my eldest with her homework, have special days with each of them separately and then as a family. Recently, I had the opportunity for a promotion that would require traveling 2 weeks out of the month. My wife and I briefly considered it before deciding that it just wasn't worth it in the long run. We do good financially and the extra money won't be worth her raising our kids alone half the month and me missing out on so much. The promotion came up during a family party. My father is now retired and he was there. When he heard me mention it, he asked why I would want to pass it up. I said I don't want to miss out on my girls' childhoods or have them feel like I abandoned them. My dad's chest puffed out and he said that was a drive-by. I was confused and he said I had never been quiet about being unhappy as a military kid. He went on a rant about him not being an absent dad. I was an ungrateful brat, not patriotic, telling me to move to Canada if I hate America so much. I said I don't hate America. I just hated growing up without a physically present father. He said he was fighting for our country. I said that was a choice and am allowed to not agree with it. My wife, kids and I left shortly after. My wife agrees with my point, but said I was an asshole for wording my reasons for not taking the promotion like I did. Am I the antagonist? Hearing that you didn't like it wouldn't rile up your dad if he was confident in his decisions. You didn't say or do anything improper. In my opinion, your father is aware that he was absent. Just now, you made it clear. You should be commended for bucking societal norms. Comment by team member Shannon. But now for the top comments. NTA. Any decent dad would have said, I know me being gone so much caused you a lot of pain, and it makes me sad. I made the best decision I could about my career and my responsibility, but I'm aware that it had some major drawbacks. I'm glad you get to be a father who gets to be around for your kids, since that is important to you. Yes, this is what good parents do. My father said something similar to me when he learned about the sacrifices me and my sibling made. NTA, your dad's insecure childish reaction says it all. It's also guilt that he would never admit. NTA, you are being a great father by putting your children's lives first. Being present in their upbringing will forever be better than any job promotion. Your father got defensive because he knew you were right. Don't listen to him. You are doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with wanting to put your children first, and you are not an ungrateful brat. It's not your fault he chose war over his son. NTA seconded this response. My dad used to travel a lot when I was really young. He would always come to see me, no matter what time he got in. One night I started screaming when he woke me up because I didn't realize who he was. He never traveled for work again. Nothing, and I mean nothing, is worth being absent from your children's lives. I spent every waking moment making sure I did as much with and for my children as I possibly could as they grew up. I have never regretted a moment. Am I the antagonist for not getting rid of my bird for my boyfriend? I feel like this is such a strange argument to bring on Reddit, but here I am. Throwaway for privacy. I, 23F, want to start off by saying I live alone. My boyfriend does not live with me, and I do not have any roommates, so no one deals with my animals but me. I have always wanted to rescue an animal, and since I now permanently work from home I decided I wanted to rescue a pet. Because my income has plenty of disposal for a pet, I found an African grey parrot that was being given away due to its owner passing away. Poor buddy was in rough shape, so I decided to take him in. I wanted to be fully prepared to take him, so I paid a parrot trainer to help us make the transition to bring Norbert into my home life. That was about 8 months ago, and I and Norbert have made a great success. The beginning was rough because he didn't trust me or even like me. I don't blame him. He was being neglected and then was sent to a random woman's house who suddenly wanted to be his friend. But with professional help and patience, Norbert is thriving and is now my little buddy. I feel incredibly lucky as most don't have such luck with rescue parrots. I cannot even express in words how much I love him, except when he gets snippy, when he doesn't get to eat my food. Total diva. Now on to the problem. I started dating my boyfriend Mike about 3 months ago, and before that, we had been friends for about 2 years. When we first started going out I slowly introduced him and Norbert so as to not stress Norbert out. He made subtle comments about it being weird and that I spend too much money on him, but I shrugged it off. Most of the time, when we hang out at the house Norbert is perched on my head or shoulder, sitting on my lap, or having a dance party. Over the weekend, Mike brought up a comment about not wanting to live with a bird, and I was confused because we haven't even talked about living together yet, so I asked him to elaborate. He told me he didn't want to potentially live with a big parrot who takes up all my time if we end up living together, so if I want to take him seriously I should start finding a good home to send him to. I was immediately appalled and asked him to leave. Ever since then he's been blowing up my phone, switching between apologies and anger. He has now also got his friends on my back about this. So am I the antagonist for not taking him seriously and prioritizing my bird? Edit. Sorry if I was not clear enough in my post, but Norbert is not going anywhere. That thought never crossed my mind. I was more asking if I'm tough for choosing my bird over someone else. I've been made to feel like I'm insane for doing this, so I needed strangers' opinions. Edit. I see a lot of people curious about what I do, and I got my job through my family, but I work as a manager for a team at a popular entertainment company. Throw this loser out. He presented an impasse. You'd best be prepared to accept either response, even if it differs from what you had hoped for. Norbert is a relative. If your boyfriend doesn't like your family, you don't throw them out. Comment by team member Jordan. Now for the top comments. Keep Norbert. Rehome the boyfriend. Hijacking top comment to say, please don't ever let him anywhere near your home again. There was an AITA about a guy who squished his girlfriend's spider and another post about a guy trying to set his wife's rabbit free that he hated. Do not ever trust him. Now that he has shown his true colors, he's a walking red flag, and if he's that insecure over a beloved pet and that controlling so early, it will only escalate until something terrible happens. Not the a-hole. AITA. The fact that he's concerned about what you're spending your money on is another huge red flag. NTA. I think it's just fantastic that you have a living, breathing, delightful red flag detector in your home, who is not only your buddy, but has helped you not waste further time on the uncivil that is Mike. Extra weird that you've been friends through the whole time that you got Norbert, so it's not like he wasn't fully aware of Norbert's existence and role in your life. He was aware of Norbert, but I guess not the extent of Norbert. No one was allowed over my house at all when I got Norbert because the poor baby was already in bad shape. The last thing I wanted to do was overwhelm him. I feel like he thought Norbert was a tiny parakeet and not a massive African grey parrot, lol. Either way, I'd never give up a pet for a relationship. At this point, I don't even trust him around Norbert if we do continue our relationship.